log in. What was that?
Meeting is recorded.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want to log in and to pull up a couple things so that way they're like there for me.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Awesome. Okay.
Here, I'll move
Sorry.
all my.
I was looking at like
I'll unpack.
Let's take a drink.
Yeah. Listen, I'd let you do that.
I appreciate it. You're very sweet.
All right.
Okay.
Expo, if you want it. This is so funny. I bet this is Jim.
No, that was me.
Was
I
it?
dumped that there because I'm getting over just a little bit of a cough, and when I talk a lot, I start.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I'm like,
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I
Is this your
came
water? Do you want a
prepared.
water?
Yep, that's mine.
Okay,
Thank you,
good.
dear.
Oh my gosh, they have donuts?
I did. I ended up just getting donuts. Help
You
yourself.
want donuts?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Can I have one?
Yeah, of course, please.
Which one do you want? I feel like you.
Oh no, I'll eat what I like. I'll just take whatever's left home to my kids. But I think there are going to be a lot left.
I know this kind of shocked me. I don't know. I don't know what it was about today. Because we've usually had attendance of.
Oh, it works. Cool. I haven't logged into this in a while, and I was like, I'm not sure if it's going to work. Okay.
That's awesome. All right, I think you're all set.
Awesome.
Holler
Thank you
at
so much,
me
dear.
if you need anything. I'll be on Zoom. Just
Okay.
yell Ashley.
Oh, okay.
Do you have my number? Let me give you my number.
No, I don't think I do.
Here, I'll type it in.
Oh, yeah, W-I-E, okay. Hang on, I got it. I-E-R-T-Z.
EMA.
It's already
Yeah.
in my auto there.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, that never happens. Oh no. Here, it needs your
Oh.
face.
There we go.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even give us a pen.
Hi, guys. Sorry about that. I think someone took mine.
What happened? And now we have less people.
I know.
I'm like, oh, we'll have more. And I'm like, wait.
I was pretty sure they weren't sticking around for it. But we've got people on Zoom too.
Give me a
so.
call or text
You are fabulous.
if you
Thank
need
you, dear.
anything. I'm gonna take all my things and I'll let you do your thing. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have so much fun.
This is the learn. I'm good.
Go back to that. Tab. Here we go.
Yeah, food's here.
Yeah, help yourself to donuts, please.
You bring them?
When I saw that this was scheduled from 11 to 1, I was like, that is when I want to eat lunch.
Yeah. Cool.
So I don't want people getting hungry and crabby and all that jazz. So donuts over here if you want some.
Nice.
Yeah. Keep your blood sugar up.
Where is everybody?
It's quiet.
There's not on the donuts.
I know.
Yeah, I can't remember, they had several that I looked, I just took pictures of kind of the ones I like the look of. So it may, I thought it was a little thicker than like normal.
You're the best instructor, yeah.
I'm just doing it for the reviews, you know.
You know of a better option that doesn't need something behind it, I'm not dead set on that.
It would be weird if we reviewed you before the class even started.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be totally fine.
Are you doing the,
I'll
some
text
people have
you the link
mentioned
from the-
doing it for a
from their
purpose,
website.
like to get to a next level of some sort of
It has
Oh,
mastery or something, or?
Not with specificity, but I do want to teach more, get out there more, get, you know, just like, I enjoy presenting, I enjoy teaching. So, I'm doing this to help with all of that, and yeah. But yeah, I was at that workshop where they kind of talked about you go to these, no, I'm not doing it with that kind of intention at the moment. So at the moment, I'm content growing my business and just spending time with fun people. So, well, welcome, everybody. I think we'll go ahead and get started. So forgive me, I have notes in like 3 different places and I will try to keep up. If I don't keep the PowerPoint up and going, let me know, please. I wanted this to be very conversational, collaborative. I'm gonna do my best to keep an eye on the Zoom chat. So Zoom chat people, if I'm not responding to somebody that you need, you can text Ashley for some reason, but, or actually, I'll just give you so for Zoom people, my cell phone number is 417-597-2136. If I'm not attending to you, or if there's a problem I'm not aware of, send me a text or call me, and my phone's right here, so I'll respond. Okay. I don't know why I talked to the iPad when I did that. Anyway, okay. So I am a very relaxed person, so, you know, please feel free to chime in. Let's just have fun getting through this. I don't know that we'll take the full 3 hours. I'll try to give us breaks as needed.
We have 2 hours,
We have 2 hours.
11 to 1.
Oh, that's right. That's only 2 hours. Okay, that's even better. So, but we will do some breaks, and if you need to get up and do something, please, by all means, don't worry about me. And then if you want donuts, grab donuts. So keep your blood sugar up. Okay, so we're gonna talk about open houses. This is sort of the order of what we're going through. Open houses work, how to prepare and promote for them, how to build trust while you're talking to people, how to follow up. That's key to everything that we do. Follow up. Yeah, be the #1 agent in the market. It's all about just having a goal, and then putting it all together. And it's okay if your goal is not to be the #1 agent in the market. We'll just put that out there. We all have different needs. And I definitely, as we're going through everything, I don't want to just sit here and read everything to you. But talking about our general ground rules, I think you probably have all seen these before. If you have any questions or need anything, just let me know. So before we kind of get into this exercise talking about accountability and where we are today, I'll just give you kind of a brief introduction to me. I've been a realtor for about 4 years. In fact, we're coming right up on my 4th anniversary at the beginning of May. And I absolutely love doing this, love my job. I have a small team. I have a business partner, Amanda Gold. We share all of our transactions 50-50, and then we have a buyer's agent and admin on our team. And we're very communicative, collaborative. We don't take ourselves too seriously, but we do take serving our clients very seriously. We have a lot of fun doing real estate, and we're doing well and happy. So we're in a good place, but also, you know, trying to continue to learn and grow and push ourselves to the next level.
What do you do for real estate?
What's that? So before real estate, I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. That was never my plan. I actually have a master's degree in what would be the healthcare equivalent to like an MBA. And I wanted to do like nursing home or hospital administration. But we had our first daughter, Bonnie. She was a delight. Decided we'll try for number 2. We ended up having quadruplets for the second round.
Yes.
So when the quads were born, she had just turned 2. So I had 5 kids under the age of 2. And that was like basically money-wise, the only way is for me to stay home. Like my husband had the higher paying profession. So he's a physician, so I stayed home. So I was home with him for about 10 years. And we kind of got to a point, we were considering moving actually to Oregon. My husband got a great job offer out there. And we were looking at like cost of living out there, and it was so much higher. And with 5 kids, we decided not to do it. But one of the plans was, well, when we get out there, kids are old enough for me to start working again. I'll get into real estate because I've always talked about doing that. Since we decided not to make the move, I was like, well, I guess I'll just be a real estate agent here, which is great. I've lived in this area most of my life, other than when we were away for school for a while. So it's worked out great. We're happy. We're in a better place now. Life is good. So yeah, so that's kind of my story. And Amanda and I we actually met in real estate school. And we went the first year, we both joined KW right out of real estate school. And the first summer, Amanda wasn't super active, but I was working it, and got a few, got a few contracts. Yeah. We're gonna get back to it.
Oh, no, the comment, sorry.
Did somebody?
You said you're 5 kids under.
Thank you. Yes, we call those 2 years the dark years, because it was not pretty. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like, I was not made to be a stay-at-home mom. It was very hard for me. Like, I didn't like being isolated.
Yeah.
Babies are fine. I'm really good at them now. But not my bag. I like teenagers much better. Talk to me, even if it is irrational, and we'll be much better. So
Have you had teenagers though?
I do. I have 5 teenagers right now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just
My oldest is
just making
15.
sure you've actually had that experience.
Yes, I have a 15-year-old and 4 13-year-olds.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. I mean, I haven't lived the full teenage experience yet, but other than my own personal experience.
It gets worse, by the way.
So yeah, we'll see. We're venturing into driving now, which is
Oh, gosh.
anyway. So let's get back to it. Let's refocus, get back into our slides, because I could just literally yammer all day. I apologize. So let's talk about your lead generation activities. I don't want to go through everybody, but somebody give me 1 or 2 things that you have done in the last 24 hours for lead generation.
Door knocking.
Excellent. Anybody else? Something?
I do my sphere.
Okay, awesome. Call, talk to people. Keep in mind, sometimes it can be as simple as just going to your dentist appointment, and talking to people there and reminding them that you're an agent. I help my dental hygienist buy and sell a house. So always keep your eyes open for opportunities. I've gotten 2 referrals in Mexico, and on 2 different trips. And I also got a referral sitting in the airport in Dallas on my way either to or from Mexico, can't remember. And just started talking to somebody. Next thing I knew, I was hooking him up with an agent. So it can be done. There's business everywhere, even when you're on vacation or at the dentist. Okay, so 1 more person, give me some lead gen that they have done in the last 24 hours.
You have 2 online.
Oh, fabulous. So some people, Michael Rice has done social media. Where are you guys seeing that?
They pop up for a
At the very
second.
corner of the screen for a second.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna be terrible about that. Thank you for letting me know.
Do you want one of us to just look at that the whole time?
No, that's not your job. Your job is to learn. So, okay, and handed out business cards while working on my other businesses. Love it. Love it. Just keep going, keep on keeping on. It snowballs, little at a time. Next thing you know, somebody's calling you that you don't even know who they are because somebody gave them your card. It happens. Okay, so moving on. All right, open houses. That's why we're here. It's what we're doing, what we're talking about. Why do open houses? They're a lot harder to do right now. There's no denying that. But it gets you in front of people, gets you meeting people, allows you to build rapport. And our first 2 years in business, other than Sphere and working Sphere, we pretty much all of our fresh leads, people that we hadn't met before, all of our clients were from open houses. So we've built a lot of business on open houses, and some of those people have come back to us for return business. Again, so open house is easiest, simplest, fastest way,
To a
cheapest way to grow your
successful
business.
closing. Think of yourself as not only the one
I
who
don't know
makes
why
the
it's
sale,
doing that.
but also the one who makes sure it closes. To do this,
So that was our chapter shift from Gary Keller.
Okay, cool.
Uh-huh.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, always read that. That's good stuff. So yeah, it's a great inexpensive lead source. A lot trickier to get right now. We're gonna kind of I'm gonna dive into my methodology of when I want to do an open house right now, how I find those open houses and get them. And of course, here we are on our little mountain. Okay, so you guys, this is your time to tell me what you really want to get out of this and what I can do to help you. And I will do my darndest to get it done.
Just go, just talk.
Just talk.
We keep doing the same intro kind of.
Oh, is it? Okay, kind of
I
repetitive.
think you can, we're just want to hear anything you can.
Okay, well,
That's my
So
thoughts.
Chuck, yesterday I filled in for you because you weren't here,
Yeah,
but,
I was online, I heard you.
okay. So what she said the other day was golden. And tell me your name again.
I'm Haley. I
Haley,
said
Please say again.
less why, more how.
Less why, more
And
how. Okay.
We're all in that, we all believe all, like,
Yeah.
let's just
I
go.
love it.
Just
Okay.
go for it. Just tell us what you know.
I love it. And I'm a very direct person too, so I will not take it personally when you are direct with me. So please, like, I don't be.
Oh, is
around-
that, was that direct? I'm not a direct person.
No,
I
it's
didn't mean
the
it
whole
that way.
content of this
I'm a soft,
just keeps
soft.
going over the same, that you
Yeah.
should do it. And we know we should do it. That's why we're here. Like,
Or the what
we'd
have you?
rather have more nuts
yeah.
and bolts of how you actually do it and get it
Alright.
done.
Yeah,
and all
what have
that.
you been
Yes.
doing? What do you want to do? And
I'm putting this down.
I've been in about a year and a half and I've not done an open house. I've just not made it a point, but it's something I want to do this year.
Awesome.
So I think I bought some signs to be ready just in case.
Uh-huh.
I
I
just,
strongly recommend that.
yeah, and I just haven't done the next thing. Not yet.
All right, so we will talk nuts and bolts. So question, are you open to sell the house or pick up? Yes, we all know why. Yes, we know. I don't love these statistics. And right now I feel like the numbers are probably different. The open houses that I've hosted recently, I really feel like a lot more people are coming represented.
Yes.
Thank you for validating that. Here's what I think it is. It's because that's the only showing the person knows they're gonna get. And so agents are sending people to the open houses because it's the one time that they don't have to drive like an idiot to meet them at this house to get into it today. We had a listing and it was a really cool house and I was really looking forward to holding it open. And so I had it go live late on a Friday. I think it was live maybe like 2 o'clock or so in the afternoon. And I wanted to hold it open the next Saturday. I didn't even hold out for a Sunday. I was like, I don't think Sunday will happen. Maybe it will. It was very dated and it was kind of quirky. It had some very specific, super custom things and it needed all of the updates, although it was in a good shape overall, been well cared for. It was just super, super dated. And I thought this might sit for a week. This probably won't sit much more than a week. We'll see. But I was like, I'm not taking a chance. I'm going to do it open on Saturday. Get my open in. Well, Friday evening, we get a really strong 25K over offer, no repairs. And they wanted a response first thing in the morning. They didn't want me to hold it open, basically. And you have to do what's in your seller's best interest. And so I said to my seller, I said, this is a weird house. And she knew it. Like she's a friend. She was someone I could be really frank with. This is a very specific house. A lot of people are not, this house doesn't have broad appeal. This is a good offer. I think even though you haven't had full market exposure, I wouldn't want you to miss out on this offer. And thankfully it appraised. We priced it a little, it was higher than my client thought it would be, but it was on the high side of what I recommended, but we kind of got some validation and that's one of the things that I look at. And of course, this is getting into pricing listings, but 2 or 3 days before we went live, I sat down with my seller and we did the comps ourselves because this was such an unusual house. I wanted to make sure that she had complete buy-in. on the pricing. And she was a friend and very collaborative, and I knew I could trust her not to kind of go to a weird place with it. So I said, let's just look at the comps together. And there was one house that had gotten listed that maybe like the day before, and it was already pending. It was very similar, identical square footage, not in the same neighborhood, but the same school district. And it was a similar kind of neighborhood in that it was just sort of, they have similar feels. I knew both the neighborhoods really well. And so I called the listing agent and I said, do you mind telling me how much your final price was? Because it went like that. So you know there was more than one offer. And she says, well, I won't tell you what the contract price is, but it went for way, way over asking. And it was listed for where we were thinking of listing it. So then my seller said, okay, that's our price. You know, clearly there's demand for dated houses in this price range. So let's do it. So we did, and she's thrilled. You know, this was her parents' home that she was selling. So we're a couple weeks away from closing, but our appraisal's already good. We didn't have to worry about repairs.
So question, do you feel like there could have been more competition if you hadn't accepted that offer right out of the
Possibly.
gate?
Yeah, absolutely. And
So do you recommend, so we have a listing coming up this weekend, and we've never put the lingo in there, accepting offer or reviewing offers Sunday at 2 after the open house, because it drives us nuts when that's the case, but we're to the point where we think it's probably in the best interest. Do you recommend that?
I recommend having a conversation with your seller about it, but be realistic with them, because there's a very good chance you can have someone come in with a really strong offer. They want a quick response. And in that kind of situation, what is in your best interest? You know, accept this quickly. Similarly, our team had another listing. I didn't handle this listing. Our buyer's agent, Ashley, did. And they got a strong offer, night one, cash, no repairs, appraisal waived. And she said, this is a great offer. You should think about taking it. She didn't want to take it. Her husband was out of town. She wanted to have a conversation with him first. It was an investor. She didn't want to sell to an investor. And I respect that entirely. And we did. We respected her wishes on this. But the person who actually ended up buying the house ended up being a nightmare to work with. And she would have gotten more money if she had taken that first offer. And maybe that's not what's important to her. I think that one's closing today or tomorrow, but it has been awful the whole way through. And I was talking to Mandy, like, I wish she had just taken that other offer.
Was it the client, the buyer that was difficult, or the buyer's agent that was difficult?
The agent. And I won't say anything else beyond that.
I see.
Yeah. So,
Well, it depends, like I have a listing coming up, I have an authorization to show. They really don't want people through their house, so that's what they prefer, you know, and we may be putting on the market, but not yet.
yeah. So in everything, when we're working with buyers and sellers, we always lay it out plainly, and then say, there are two ways to look at this. Way number one, way number two, we will respect your decision and make it happen whichever way you want to go, you know, which is the conversation I had with my seller of the really dated house. I said to her, you know, this is a really good offer for this house. And sure, we might get other offers, but it's also kind of a quirky house. So we may not get a ton of other offers. So what do you want to do? And she said, let's just get it over with. And I don't blame her. And it's all going great. So, yeah. Okay, awesome. So.
The moral of the story is, don't be a jerk if you're an agent.
Oh.
Is that the?
1,000% yes, 1,000% yes. I actually just wrote a blog post about this. I've literally had conversations with sellers, 3 very similar offers, because a lot of times the offers will come in super close. And I said, we have 3 very similar offers here. Agent A is a jerk. I've done a deal with him before, and I was terrible. Agent B, their paperwork was a mess, and they were disorganized. They seem nice enough, but they're kind of never mind. So I use a lot of 4-letter words, so I'm trying really hard not to. So, I was like, so this could turn out okay, but agent C is super organized, was very pleasant on the phone, was very respectful whenever they requested the showing. Which one do you want to work with? So, yeah, I always try to be, I kiss listing agents' asses all day, all day, if I think it's gonna help my buyer. So when I call, I try to be very clear, very communicative. I try to text, be respectful, use complete sentences, good, decent grammar. Every little bit counts, every little bit.
Because you're not just representing you and your broker, you're representing the seller.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Or your
you're
buyer.
communicating, when you're sending offers to people, you're communicating, this is how I communicate. So when I send an offer for a buyer, I send a nice little email that says, since we don't do love letters anymore. I used to be a huge fan of love letters. So if I feel like there's some kind of emotional hook I can put in there that they might communicate, for example, deal we closed yesterday. When I sent the offer on that one, I said, my client is a school teacher. She's so excited. She's now going to be 2 minutes away from work. If, if she gets this house, she'll be really close to work. And her parents live one neighborhood over. This is just an awesome location for them. And we wrote a very strong offer as well. We waived repairs and had an appraisal gap. But we weren't the highest offer. We also had a escalation clause in there. And so they came back and countered and said, hey, if you can go to this price, we'll sell the house to you. And she said it was because my client wanted to sell to a school teacher. So look for those hooks when you're in people's buyers' houses or sellers' houses. Look at the house. Look for ways that your buyer might relate to that person. Do they have pictures of going skiing? My buyer loves to ski. Or, my buyer loves dogs. My buyer rescues dogs. Look for little tiny hooks, little ways to get into their psychology. And say, they love this house. I know you have dogs. My buyer loves this house because they have dogs and they want to get them out of this cramped apartment or, whatever.
That's huge.
Yeah. Find little tiny ways to relate to the seller, and that may get your offer out on top. On average, I write one offer for most of my buyers. So the only person I've written more than one offer for is FHA 203K rehab that needs closing costs, but we're under contract. So I wrote 3 offers for them, but we got, so, okay, let's get back on track. We get off track
This is
more later.
off track, sorry, but
Oh, no.
the escalation clause, I've never done that before. I've heard of them and I've seen them, but how often do you do that? And can you talk about like a short explanation?
Sure. So everything I suggest to my buyer, especially when I suggest escalation clauses, waiving repairs, waiving appraisal, I always emphasize that they are in the driver's seat. They are making these decisions. And I say this is to your comfort. My clients my teacher who bought the house, they were only comfortable with $5,000 appraisal gap. The person who wrote the offer on her lower priced home that they were moving out of offered a $10,000 appraisal gap, even though they probably had more cash in the bank than the buyer did, because they were bringing a pretty hefty down payment to their new purchase. So for escalation clauses, keep it pretty simple. Buyer agrees to pay, I usually go 500 or 1,000 depending on the price point, but less than 500 seems like, why would you do that? I usually recommend 1,000 at every price point, and then again, adjust to buyer comfort. I say buyer will pay $1,000 over any other offer, but not to exceed whatever that number is, the top of there. If we don't get it for this price, we're okay with not getting it. That's what I tell people. If you want to write your strongest offer, what is the price that you would still want to buy it? But if for more than that, you're okay with not getting it. So.
Do you exclude contingent offers based on what you're escalating above? Because that's what I've done.
Exclude in what way?
Well, like if you're competing against someone else that is contingent upon selling their home,
Mhm.
you don't really have to beat their offer by $1,000. They're gonna take your offer if it's not contingent, even without
Maybe or maybe not.
being $1,000 over.
Some sellers, especially in this market, I mean, it's pretty easy to sell a house in this market. And any more contingency for closing or selling another house, you know, it's not my first choice. But I definitely tell people, I'm like, it's not as big a deal as it used to be, because even if they fall through, there's a good chance they can get it back under contract really quickly. And
But wouldn't that still be true though, if you say that it's not your first choice, then that means all other things being equal, you're not gonna pick the one that's contingent upon selling their other house, right?
that's up to the seller. You know, if are they willing to take the gamble on the contingency to get an extra $5,000 for a stronger offer?
Right.
They might be. And if that one with the contingency also has an appraisal gap and they're willing to waive repairs, and the other ones maybe are or are not, then maybe we will take that contingent offer. Because people who have contingencies realize they've got to turn up the volume on the rest of the contract to get it under contract.
Michael asked if you asked them to show proof of the other offers.
Yes, so typically, and most people do it out of courtesy. I used to write it in there. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But yes, I usually just ask for a identity redacted copy of the first page to verify. And most of the time, the people just send it without either way. When they send the counter offer, hey, we're going to send a counter offer for $372,500. Here's the first page of that contract that we're basing that off of.
You think it hurts in some situations as far as just mucking up the water a little bit? Like
No.
escalation clause, you don't think it would
No.
be at any disadvantage?
I do, when I write my email, I say la-di-da, happy stuff about my buyer. And then I say our offer is summarized as follows. So I make sure I point out all the key points of our offer, especially the ones that make it stronger in that email, so that it doesn't get missed, that there's an escalation clause. That almost happened to us once. We had a little tiny starter home and it got like 12 offers. And it was a great little house. And as we were going through them, double checking everything, we had a oh crap moment where we realized this one had an escalation clause. And so that moved that offer up. So yeah.
And are you just writing this in at like the special agreements, or is it a separate
Yeah, it's all in
Separate.
special agreements.
paper? Okay.
So, okay, let's get back on track.
This is good.
Yes.
I know, we'll do more of this. Yeah, and I can talk all stinking day, except for I've got a little cough. But, so best open house ever. My best open house ever. I'm gonna tell you about two of them. First one was a house that my seller had flipped. And she had lived in the neighborhood and lived in the house while she was flipping it. So she got to know the neighbors, and had really kind of become a part of the community, but decided it was time to sell. The house that she flipped was a little bit too big for what they wanted. They were just, two of them. But she wanted to show it off. And I was like, well, how about we do a private open house the day before this hits the market? Create a little neighborhood buzz, get people in. So we did it in an evening, 2 hours. It was like from like 5 to 7 or something. We catered just some light orders from a nice catering place, had some wine and some other adult beverages. And then we also invited our favorite lender, who is a very good talker, charming, like strategically invite people that are good at talking to people, especially if you're a more introverted person. I actually have some very introverted moments where I enjoy doing this kind of stuff, but other times I just don't want to talk to people today. So I can definitely struggle in social situations at times. So I just want to nope out. And I have to steel myself and move forward and do it. But that was so much fun. I had before pictures printed, and we put them up on a big poster in the front room where we were greeting everybody and serving drinks. And then of course, people were encouraged to tour the house and see all the updates that she had done. And We had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Client loved it. She raved about it. She said, I know you didn't have to do that in this market, but I appreciate it so much and it was so much fun. And all the neighbors came and we made a lot of great contacts and met some new people, and it was in the 65809 neighborhood or area. So
That's mine.
exactly. Although it was one of the older homes in 09. Sorry. That's Danielle. Or admin. You just send her a text and tell her I'm in class. We have a team meeting at 11:30. She probably thinks I'm calling into it. Okay. Okay, so that was a lot of fun. And that kind of shows you what can happen when you have time to actually plan your open houses. Because that's the hard part right now is even when you got the drop on the listing, you're listing the stinking house, you may still end up having your open house yanked away from you because the house goes under contract. And yes, could I have held that house open and then pended it after the open house? Yes, I could have. Would I have felt slimy? Also, yes. So I always try to go, and I'm not saying I judge someone for doing that, but for me,
So let's talk about that for a second.
okay.
So you're saying you got an acceptance date, a time
Mhm.
by the beginning of the open house?
Before the beginning of the open house.
Before the open house?
So we were under contract before the open house began.
And people still would hold an open house
Oh, yeah.
without telling?
I did it once.
Okay.
And it was because it wasn't my listing. It literally went under contract right before the open house.
So we had a situation like this and obviously communicating it to the people. So very similar situation. We ended up not holding it open and there was people calling us at the front door saying, what's going on?
Yeah.
So what's your communication like through, what if you got a better offer?
Well, I mean, that's exactly why they didn't want us to have the open house.
Yeah.
They wanted us to get it under contract before the open house. And there is always a what if, in every offer, in every single contract you write, there's always a what if there's something better on the horizon. But if you have something really good in front of you, I don't recommend passing it up even in this market.
Yeah.
And again, I always put it back on the client. I'm not making these decisions. They are making the decisions. Keep them in the driver's seat, because then when things go wrong, it went wrong because of their decisions, not because of your decisions. I mean, obviously that doesn't avoid all issues, but it's really important to remember to keep your sellers, keep your clients in the driver's seat and remind them at every point, you are simply helping them with their decision. You are advising them on their decision. So the new flip open house, fabulous, a lot of fun, had a great time. And then the other open house that was my best ever open house was on Super Bowl Sunday.
What?
I am not a Super Bowl person. I did not think about it when I committed to doing the open house. We usually watch it and we watch the commercials and stuff, but it's not a big deal for me. Okay. It's fine, whatever. Okay, I'm doing this. So not very many people came. And I'm not a volume person. I would much rather sit and interact with 1, 2, or 3 people than have 30 people churn through and I'm just waving at them as they walk past me. Because I don't like super busy open houses. I really don't. Because I feel like I do worse. I make fewer contacts because people are just plowing through as fast as they can. And I'm just trying to keep up with everything. You're too busy running the open house as opposed to having time to sit to interact with people. So Super Bowl Sunday, 2 people came to the open house. Both of them turned into buyers.
Hey.
And it's because the people who are out on Super Bowl Sunday looking for houses, or out the Sunday before Christmas, or out, on some other kind of serious holiday where something else is going on, they're serious. They're more serious. And that's my jam. I would rather talk to 2 serious people than 20, just looking people.
Tire kickers.
Can I share a experience?
Please.
So I got my license in November and I held several open houses shortly after I got my license. And the very first open house, I'm just like, okay, well, as soon as they walk in the door, I gotta force them to write down their information and this and that. And I got no good contacts out of that. And then the second one, I'm like, I'm gonna change my strategy. To heck, whether I get 10 people's information, I wanna actually connect with one person or 2 people or something like that. I changed my strategy at the next open house, and then I've sold 2 buyers off of that other open house that I did, just based on connecting with them. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 1 or 2 groups of people come through and have meaningful connection than 20 people that, even if you did get their information, they don't care about you because you didn't have any connection with them.
Exactly. And we'll dive into that more later. And there's no wrong way to do it. Lots of realtors will, swear by sign-in sheets or sign in stuff on the iPad. And that's great. If that works for you, if you can accomplish that and you have a marketing end where you can market to those people and you feel like you're getting results from that, great, do it. But for me, I don't feel like I get results from that. I get results from meeting people, interacting with people, letting them get to know me, getting to know them, and doing business. So yeah, absolutely. So that's part of the strategy of picking and choosing your open houses. Is it's easy to not think about the date when you commit to an open house because you're so eager. Oh, Mark Stewart's got one. So okay, you jump in there and you get it. So it's easy to kind of get wrapped up and then have some regrets later, but sometimes holiday open houses aren't all bad. Or if weather's crappy, that's another one. I mean, nobody wants to get out in that weather. So if the weather's really crappy and 1 or 2 people show up, they're a lot more likely to be serious buyers.
So the inclement situation kind of filters people for you and you're just left with the.
Gold.
Yeah, right. You just distilled with the,
Exactly.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't work out every single time, but I feel like you get a lot more serious leads when you actually have time to interact with people. And because, if you have an open house where 30 people show up, there might be 5 to 10 people that show up that do need an agent.
Mhm.
But if you don't have time to talk to them,
Oh, no.
then sure, maybe if you get their email, maybe you'll end up converting them later, but maybe not. So I would much rather talk to 5 people than get the emails of 10. So
I've got a question. Since
Yeah.
we're keeping this more open form,
please.
what is your definition of a lead?
That's interesting. I would say it varies depending on what we're talking about and the situation. Are we talking if I would call somebody gave me the name and phone number of somebody who is thinking about buying a house, that's definitely a lead. That's a personal referral type lead, a lot more likely to turn over. Sure, I've gotten internet leads. Those are definitely leads. But I personally think any person you come into contact with could potentially lead you to a transaction. So I try to treat everybody that way, which is not to say that I'm out to get, I just look at everybody as like a cash cow. Here's another piggy bank over there. But I do interact with people and I try to think of, how can I help them? How can I engage them? How can I show my competence and hopefully get some business? So like I said, Mexico, DFW, you can get business anywhere. You really
What
can.
about, if you're the listing agent, do you often, you hold the open house yourself? Do you, I mean, a lot of people are asking for people to hold their open houses.
Yeah.
What's the mindset of those?
I think it varies. For me, it varies from house to house, situation to situation. We had a listing up in Mansfield, and it was for literally my very first set of buyers ever. And they were ready to move on from that house. And so we just closed on it yesterday. I held that one open once But when I was on the way there, I was talking to Amanda, I was like, I don't really want a bunch of Mansfield's leads. Cause it's a little bit of a haul out there. And helping a buyer buy something in Mansfield would mean a lot of trips and, you know, less ROI. Let's put it that way. So, and we got one Mansfield lead, and I actually met a KW agent there, Tammy Barrett is there in Mansfield, and she's very nice. She came to the open house and introduced herself, and we had a nice chat. So I just referred that lead to her. I was like, here you go, Tammy, because she lives there. So it's a lot easier for her. And that's how sometimes we divide things up in our team. If we have a buyer that comes in that is not necessarily, you know, oh, my friend Janie said Amanda's a great agent, we want to work with Amanda. If we're able to kind of flex who's working with that lead, and there's one on the south end, I live in Ozark, they want Ozark or Nixa, sure, I'll take that. And then if they want west side, Mandy's closer to the west side of Springfield, so she takes the west side, you know, we just kind of, and it's also a matter of, you know, who's busier, who has what, you know.
There's a bunch of two together. I see your name on my neighborhood Waterford page, because I think you have an investment property there.
I have two, yeah.
So I see.
Okay, you live in Waterford?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice neighborhood.
Cool.
Yeah.
But they talk about conflict of interest when talking with buyers, when you're the listing agent. How do you go about?
So for our team, there are two ways we approach that. And it, again, client dependent, and just sort of situational dependent. If the situation is such that we don't really like doing dual agency. But what we do is if we end up, and we have done this a handful of times, if we end up with a dual agency kind of situation, I'll take one side, Mandy will take the other side. And then we agree, and we tell our clients this, we are not going to talk about the transaction except in the same way that any other buying and listing agent would interact until we close. And that works out for the most part. That makes it feel less icky, because I personally feel like it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to completely impartially represent two parties at the same time.
Jim made a comment, and it's just stuck in my head, but if that buyer comes to your open house, you don't have like a relationship with that buyer, you don't actually have to represent them. You can still facilitate the transaction for both the buyer and the seller, but you don't have to represent them. And
I was just wondering how you did it,
Yeah.
because I'm a single agent and not all of us are on teams and have that ability to just, because you already do 50-50, so
Yeah.
it's not a big difference to you.
Yeah. I mean, if I were a solo agent and I had a dual agency kind of situation come up, if there've been a couple houses I've sold that I felt like I knew too much about. So in that kind of situation, I would probably refer out and just say, I can't, or if I have a really close relationship with the seller, you know, like my teacher friend, she's a friend. She helped me with my babies when they were little bitty. She's a friend. So if a dual agency situation had come up with that, I would have just referred out the buyer, because there is no way I can represent this stranger as well as I'm representing this person that I love and care about. No way. And I'm not BSing when I say I truly want what's best for everyone.
I think it may depend on the situation. One of my first deals was a dual agency, but it was a friend. I was selling her land and the neighbor just wanted to buy it for cash, done.
Yeah, and land is much easier because there's a lot less to fight about with land, a lot less. Basically, you agree on a price, you get your survey if you need to get your survey, and check. You know, like land, I don't mind doing dual agency on. That's not as big a deal as a house where you're gonna end up negotiating repairs, or you can end up with an appraisal issue, so on and so forth. But yeah, a cash land deal is much easier to manage that on.
I don't feel like I've been in a situation where I wouldn't, you know, obviously if the seller wasn't comfortable with it, that would be a deal breaker, but I would really try not to hand that off to somebody else if I could at all do it.
I always want to make money, but I'd rather get a referral and make sure my person's represented properly and make sure that buyer is properly taken care of than end up in a situation where I feel morally conflicted. How much do I tell them about this? How much do I tell them about that? You know, because you can end up in a place where unless everybody knows everything, which this person doesn't want that person to know that, you can feel very, very conflicted. I just don't like it. I just don't. And if people feel like they can, I'm not judging anybody who can do it and feel like they're pulling it off and feel comfortable with it.
So you mentioned something about like, I know too much. I just took to like property, I went directly to the condition of the property.
Mhm.
So aren't you liable kind of already at that point if you know about it? Like, I feel like you're kind of setting yourself up.
Well, that's why the seller fills out the disclosures.
Yeah. So, but say you know the roof leaks, or you know they've been
Yes.
having issues in the basement, it floods.
Yeah.
They didn't put that into disclosures. So is it just, you just put that on them?
So I would, for starters, I would say, the thing that came to mind, so I helped one of my first sellers ever. She was a single mom, and I helped her clean her house and prep it for listing. And I found some really unpleasant stuff that her dog did in the basement. Our pet stains, material, defects, probably not. And they were still very visible. We made them better, but they were still very visible, And then there was a thing with the toilet where you flushed it and the water came out, and she was trying to get it fixed. But it was just sort of like, I feel like I know I've learned this, I'm way too intimate with this house at this point and again, it was a good friend. So yes, if there was a major issue that was not being disclosed on the seller's disclosure, I would definitely call the seller out on that and say, no, we need to address this prior to listing, or just decide how we're gonna fix this. That was one of the things with the points of consternation with my dated house was half the roof had been replaced. It was shake shingles. Half the roof had been replaced, half had not. And replacing shake is very expensive. I think the bid for the whole house from Cox, who tends to be high, was $40,000 to replace shake on the full house. It was cheaper. It was cheaper to take the shake off and put on standard shingles, which is what we ultimately did. But do we replace the roof? Do we sell as is? Do we, what's the best way? And we just decided, let's take that objection off. She had the funds to do it. And it wasn't going to be a huge deal. So let's take off the roof, put on a new regular roof, and sell it with a brand new roof. And I think that was the right decision ultimately, because it sold quickly, and then it made it easier for people to overlook the other kind of weird dated things. So in that case, it was the right decision. But it was her decision. It was not my decision. It was her decision. We just kind of weighed the options, talked about it, etc. So
I like your philosophy of just informing the client on everything and just reminding them this is your decision to make. I'm just trying to give you all the facts so you can make a good decision. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so far I've kind of like let my own opinion about things sway in probably more than I should.
yeah, it's the first time you have a client, we've had one listing that did not sell as quickly as we want, and they wanted, but they also priced it higher than we recommended. And this was a few years ago, before houses just were getting hoovered off of the market at a crazy pace. And once you've had a seller yelling at you about the house not selling for the price that you said we could list it for, and and at that point you can't be like, no. You can't do that. You can't. And keep the client. So you just have to take the yelling and say, okay, do you want to do a price reduction? The pricing is your choice. Let me know what you want to do. So that was sort of the impetus, and Amanda and I are both the same way. That's where our philosophy came from. We make it clear at every point of the transaction that the seller, the buyer, whoever is making the decision, they need to make it to their comfort. And I've said so many times, I'm sorry, I can't make this decision for you. But here are the two options we have. Here are the implications that come from those two options. And which one do you want to go for? Okay. So best open house ever. I think we covered that. Does anybody else have like a awesome open house kind of relational story they would like to share to kind of get us back on track? Okay. Checking. Okay, so I don't want to read stuff to you. Yes, you can use another agent's listing, and that's awesome. Right now, when I have a listing, I like to be the one to hold it open because I want the leads. But there are other agents who have more stuff going on. They don't want to do their opens. They have other lead sources. They don't want to do lead generation through open houses. And that's fine too. And those are the ones that sometimes offer those. I would never, oh, Nicole Rice says, yes, we had an open house where unrepresented buyers were there waiting to see it and they wrote an offer. Didn't end up getting that listing, but we had them in another one 9 days later and closed. Yeah. Yeah, talk to the listing agents. If you see a listing come up that's interesting, when we get into how to pick houses, I'll kind of talk to you more about how I pick houses if I'm trying to hold open a listing that's not mine. I haven't done much of that lately, but I have a little bit.
I have another question, I guess, or comment. Before I went into real estate, I bought and sold 5 or 6 houses. My husband and me, I like to move. And I remember agents saying to me, and maybe it was just an offhand comment, but we don't usually find our buyer during an open house. So then is your motivation as a listing agent genuinely to find a buyer for that house, or is it sort of a self-serving kind of?
It's a little bit
I'm
of both.
getting- I mean, I know it's, I know, but do you think that's true? When you've done open houses, have you actually found someone to buy that house
Yes, it has happened.
frequently or?
Not frequently, no, occasionally. But it has happened in this year to us in 2022. We sold a house to a buyer and the buyer was actually one of our internet leads that Mandy shot them the open house information. They came in, connected with our buyer's agent, Ashley. I was holding the open house with Ashley. And they wanted to write an offer. They had a pre-approval from Rocket Mortgage that was expired. Yeah, exactly. So we got connected with our favorite local lender who got them pre-approved pretty quickly. We were able to write the offer, and now we're gonna list their house probably sometime next month. I'm guessing they're kind of taking their time, but the second mortgage payment's gonna hit them pretty soon. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna be ready to list before too long.
I think those stats definitely vary market to market. Because like right now, I had an open house a week ago or so, and there's like 30 people that came through that one. And many of them, all with agents, are like, we're gonna write an offer. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you better be a good one.
Yeah, but those people are coming with agents.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, but in terms of like having the open house and having the buyer wander in and work with you, that doesn't happen a ton. It does happen though. And it gets it in front of people. I always warn sellers that when we do an open house, like on the first day on market, that tends to eat into your first and second day showings. Because we had one listing I was kind of sweating on, because it was like a cute little 3-2. And we went live on like a Wednesday or Thursday. We did an evening open house. Whole bunch of people came. A lot of them came with their agents or told us they had agents. It was in a nice little neighborhood. And I'll talk to you about that part when we get there. We didn't get very many showings the next day. And I was like, oh. But then our offers started rolling. We ended up like 8 or 10 offers. So they'd all come to the open house and seen it at the open house, but I was sweating because we didn't have a lot of showings. So that is something to make your sellers aware of, is if we have an open house right after we hit the market, it's gonna eat into your showings. And so you'll still get the showings, but they just won't be ones that you have to make appointments for.
If it's just to sell, not to show.
Right.
Which could be a good thing
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
for the listing agent and for the client.
Absolutely. Like it kind of consolidates everything.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we're telling people if the house is not vacant, if they're living in the house, we tell people, here's when you want to go live here. All right, we'll go live on this day. Just get out of town. Like,
Please.
like just leave, give us the house for the weekend, and hopefully you'll come home to a contract.
Yeah.
Like that's our, I would say. So, and that's the easiest way for everybody, honestly, because then they only have to get ready once and then they go have a nice weekend somewhere and then they come home to a sold house. Okay, yeah, you gotta work them. Absolutely, you have to work your open houses. There have definitely been open houses that I have gone to where my energy was not there. I wanted to be somewhere else, was not feeling it for whatever reason, or I wasn't feeling well or something. And I just, you know, stood there and handed out MLS sheets. And did I get any leads from those opens? No. No.
What's that mean? To work your open house?
So make sure you're actively trying to engage with the people in the house. That's the main thing, is just actively engaging with people. But if you're at an open house and your mindset is like, I don't really want to talk to people today, I just want to get through this open house, you can do that. And it might be fine for your seller or the seller. But you are not going to get any leads from it. So.
How do you do, like, I've been in some open houses, the buyers come, they look at the house, they wanna get out right away, they don't wanna talk to you. How do you start the conversation?
We will get to more, like there are some scripts for that. And I personally, I just look for little hooks, but I also read body language. And if people don't want to talk to me, guess what? I don't want to talk to them. So if someone's just, I always try at least a little. But if I'm getting immediately, if there's just a wall, fine, I'll put my energy elsewhere. You know, that's fine. Enjoy the house. Yeah. You can't win every battle.
Yeah, I mean, you can't engage someone that doesn't want to be engaged.
Exactly. If they don't want to talk to you, there's a reason that they don't want to talk to you. And I am at the point in my life where it was like, if you don't like me, that's fine.
I don't like you either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, okay.
But no, it's just take me or leave, love me or leave me. I mean, that's what I tell people. I can be a strong dose of medicine. So if you love me, great. If you don't, you're lost. So, see, we're on page 12. Okay. I want to make sure I'm staying up with this little story of the builder's wife. It's a nice little fairy tale. It's good, but it just isn't super applicable in our current market. But there are cycles, and so it's good to kind of know this information. I'll let you guys read this on your own. Again, I don't want to stand up here and read stuff to you, but it's basically saying the preparation that you put into it often determines the output that you get out of it. And that's true for like everything, right? So if you come, you're well prepared, you're shown, because when you have a great open house, you know, all those at our awesome open house where it was a private, and we mailed out invitations to the neighbors, you know, we really did it up the best we could. And it was such a great time, and it was great client service, and people saw, okay, this is the kind of effort that they're willing to put into. So I want somebody who's going to put this kind of effort into my house. So the more you show up, the more you show the kind of value that you can bring, the better off you're going to be. And the market will change, and we will get to the point where you can actually plan open houses a week in advance. That's not now, for the most part, unless it's your own listing. So lead with listings. Okay. So takeaways, open houses produce buyers and sellers. Set goals for the open house. We didn't really glance over that. Again, it's hard, I think, to predict how many people are going to show up at an open house unless you're selling a cute little 3-2 in Waterford. And then you can guarantee that that open house is going to be packed. I think it's hard to set. It's not my style to kind of set those, okay, I'm gonna get 3 of this and 2 of this and 4 of that. My goal for almost every open house is to engage a few people and hopefully get a few phone numbers, and with people that I feel like I can actually get somewhere with. And yeah, teaming up, Amanda and I kind of discovered that we do our little Laverne and Shirley bit, like, we work really well together. If you think it's going to be a busy open house, find another agent to help you with it and be like, you take the contacts you make, I take the contacts I make, and we're all happy. Because there will be moments where, someone lets the cat out, or this window is stuck over here. I literally had someone opening the windows. Oh, I couldn't get this one closed. I wanted to strangle that person. But there will be moments where things will need to be tended to, even if it's something as simple as, talking to one person about lending while someone else is managing the door. If you've got someone who, so it's great to have a second body there. Mandy and I do great working open houses together. And it's more fun that way. You have someone to talk to, so teamwork makes the dream work for sure.
Are you gonna talk about how to advertise for open houses later?
Yes, that comes later.
Okay, we'll wait.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So see where we are. Did a follow up. Open houses work. Yes, this is our model. So prepare and promote. Here we go. We're on it. All right. So these are all the items. Setting open house goals. How many leads do you want? I got ahead of myself. Convert METs to, or have it METs to METs. Try to find buyers, try to find sellers. When we talk about choosing the house, your price point matters. And, but ultimately, when you're choosing an open house, if you're truly just choosing houses, trying to pick and choose from houses, and that will be possible eventually. It was possible a couple years ago. It's not super possible now. But that will come around again. Think about what kind of clients do you want to work with? Who's your ideal person? Mandy and I realized early on in the game that we really wanted to work with people who were moving out of their starter homes into the next level. Because they're going to have more money to write stronger offers. Not that I don't like people who don't have money, but it's much easier to get their people with money into houses right now. So they have more resources, they have more ability, and then you get 2 transactions for 1 contact. So that's the draw there. You get a listing and a buy. So deciding what house you want to hold open. We played a lot with times and locations. Overall, you're going to get best traffic in busy neighborhoods where you've got good visibility and you can put out signs and there are a lot of people around. House out in the country, not so much. May still be an awesome listing to hold open, especially if it's at a lower price point where you've got, everybody's trying to live the dream where I want a cute little house on 5 acres and raise a goat or something. That's your, that could still be an awesome open house that people will make it out for. But just in terms of getting decent traffic and timing, et cetera, and especially in this crazy market, having an open house in a nice little tidy subdivision, something that's high demand, Park Crest, Waterford, Southern Hills, the ones where anything in the 809 where people want to be, yeah, that's a great choice. In terms of, are we going to talk about? Okay, so deciding houses. So right now, if I said, okay, I want to hold an open house this weekend, I would go on the MLS and I would look for houses that have been on the market for 2 or 3 weeks. And hopefully haven't had a ton of open houses. If they're overexposed, maybe you look at a house that's been on the market for 30 or 60 days.
How do you know if they've had open houses?
You don't, except that if it's a cute little house and, those are going to be gone. But you can just ask the listing agent too, how many people have held this open, so on and so forth. And if it's, a house that sitting on the market, that means it's probably has some repair issues. It's probably super dated. There's probably some kind of funky, weird, someone built a pizza oven in the kitchen and, now you have this stone monstrosity, like people do some really weird stuff to their houses.
Do
Really
you
weird
recommend staying within our own market center for holding open houses?
Say that one more time.
Do you recommend staying within our own market center for holding open houses?
It's easiest. because you're a lot more likely to have a KW agent do that. But I have a couple Murney agents that I've developed a good relationship with. And it hasn't ever worked out, but I've reached out to them a couple times and said, hey, can I hold your listing open? And then it goes under contract. But if you can get someone to agree to it, sure, there's no reason you can't do it. And there are a lot of nice people over there.
So in that case, though, you know, you have the open house signs, I say, have Keller Williams open house. I mean, how are you gonna do that if it's a Murney listing and you're?
Just make sure you have really good directionals and then make sure it's marketed in the MLS. People will show up, and in this market, they'll show up. But yeah, just it comes down to signage and
He's
properly
saying if it's a
marketing it.
Murney listing and a KW open house.
And you could also ask the listing agent if they have open house signs you can borrow. Right. But I would make sure that you put a KW sign in the yard while you are there. Because you don't want to misrepresent yourself as being a Murney agent when you are actually a KW agent. I don't know that that's like a massive, like horrible thing, but it seems not a great idea.
I've done it where I just used all their signage. Their signs were way lighter.
Okay.
They could stick a lot more in my car.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say, you can look in the history of the listing and then expand the MLS details and it'll tell you that the house.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Open houses do show up in the history. Yeah. So yeah. So there you go. So that's how you can look quickly and easily. So yeah, just, you know, has it had a bunch of opens? If it's had opens the last 3 Saturdays in a row, or, you know, don't do it. You're not going to get much traffic. Been there, and there's just, it's been overexposed. Everybody who wants to see it has seen it. The neighbors have all seen it. Everybody's seen it. So, I mean, you could get lucky. You know, never say never. It might be better than nothing, but just decide carefully if that's really where you want to spend your time.
Well, and I will say though, the 2 buyers that I found was a new build that had been on the market for a long time. There had been tons of open houses. I put out a ton of signs. In fact, one of the buyers that I got that's under contract now, I put a sign out in front of Costco, which was, you know, and the house was like, I don't know, 20 blocks away from Costco, right in front of Costco. And my buyers were moving here from Texas. They happened to be shopping at Costco. They had no clue about the house. They just said, well, we need to move here. So, because they were just here in a temporary rental, and they followed the signs, and that's how I got the buyer.
That's awesome. I love it. So yeah, signage is everything. Signage is
20
really
blocks
still
of
important.
signs?
Well, I mean, I just put a sign at each point you needed to turn,
Wow.
you know, to get there. But, you know, I mean, I was a good, at least 5, 6, 7 minutes away from Costco, but I put out enough signs to where you could find it if you were following the signs from Costco.
That's awesome. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have enough signs. But
Well, and I mean, I say that, I mean, it took, you know, to get from Costco to that house, it took maybe 5 signs or
Okay,
something.
yeah.
Just at each point you needed to turn a different direction, and that's what I did, so.
that's awesome. So proof there. Proof is in the pudding. Okay, so yeah, traffic is important. You want to consider traffic. You want to consider who your ideal client is. So, you know, when Mandy and I developed our philosophy, okay, let's shoot for people who are upgrading. Then we weren't holding open the first time home buyer 120 to 150 at that point, you know, listings. We were holding open homes that were priced 200 plus. And it worked. It worked. People are very disloyal. People would be like, oh yeah, I use so-and-so and did it. People think agents are agents. And if you have a good conversation with them and they like you and you strike up a good rapport, they will forget whoever sold them the house faster than I don't know what. So, which is both good and bad for all of us. Right. So it's important to stay in touch with your people too. Okay, and yeah, definitely make sure that you know about the neighborhood you're picking, special features. You know, the first year of COVID, man, houses with pools disappeared instantly. And I think pools will probably remain kind of, there's a little residual of that pool demand still hanging around, but I don't feel like it's as important as it was in 2020 and 2021. Those 2 summers, everybody wanted a pool. Okay, stage the house. You may or may not have the opportunity to do this, to get in there. If it's vacant, sure, you can get in. I do like, if I am holding a vacant house open, I go there first. Am I gonna need to bring some air freshener? Am I gonna need to come 30 minutes or an hour early, open windows, air it out a little bit? I just try to assess the situation. I usually always have in my car some glass cleaner and like some Mr. Clean magic erasers, so that I'll come, especially if it's a vacant, I'll come a few minutes early, freshen everything up, even just kind of spraying the cleaner around, and it makes it smell fresher and cleaner. You know, just wipe off the counters real quick, just freshen it up lightly. And then I also, if it's a vacant, I always make sure I ask the listing agent, do you think they could mow the lawn before the open house? That would be great. A fresh cut always looks good. So that's one thing that you can generally get done in advance, unless of course, you know, but I always try to take pictures of the fresh haircut, try to go to an open house with a fresh haircut, et cetera. Of course, I'm talking about the lawn, not my own hair. Okay, so building relationship, building rapport, talking to people. This is gonna end up looking different for every single person, you know. How you connect with people. Think about times where you have met somebody and unexpectedly formed a friendship very quickly. And okay, so what was it about that formed that connection? My favorite lender who came to the open house, the first time I felt like we got to the point where we were more than just friendly colleagues, but you know, true friendship is we shared a tears rolling down our face laugh discussing a client's profession. And it was not in a negative way, but the client did something very amusing and borderline inappropriate for their work. And this is a very mild-mannered person.
Oh, come on, share, please.
He sells sperm.
Huh.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so we
Is he
were,
providing all of it, or he's just?
no, cow
horse.
sperm, cow sperm.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a very lucrative
Yeah,
market.
and it really is, actually,
If I wasn't selling houses, man.
right? So you can imagine there's a whole litany of jokes and that's where we discovered that we had a mutual appreciation for inappropriate jokes. And this was a private phone conversation. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like we were in public, you know. So yeah. So think about moments like that where someone starts clicking with you and they go from being more than a colleague to a friend. And you know, you're not going to have everyone be your friend, but try to bottle that and think, okay, how do I find those clues? What do I pick up on? Pay attention to people's clothing, pay attention to how they interact with each other, pay attention to what they're paying attention to. Later on, it talks about when you go into an open house and you talk to somebody, it talks about when you greet somebody to point out some nice things about the house. And that's great. But I also use the pointing out the nice things as a way to kind of read them, gauge them, you know, maybe drop a little joke about something about the property. Don't trip on the funny step, or, you know, it's hard to think of an example because it's all kind of in the moment. But sometimes I'll be like, so, and what do you think of the pizza oven in the kitchen? What do you think of that? Like, you know, don't miss the pizza oven in the kitchen. Or whatever other crazy, unusual, weird, you might as well just embrace it because you're not going to move the pizza oven out. So you might like, what do you think of this interesting hand-done mosaic on the mantle? You know, like, just throw it out there and get them talking about it. And then that might give you insights into what they like, what they connect, or how they connect, or it might give you nothing. But just look for little ways to kind of get yourself in there, get yourself familiar, connect with them on a personal level with what they're, and get in their heads. I tell my buyers that by the time we're done looking at houses, or by the time we're 2 or 3 houses in, I want to be looking at a house the same way you look at a house. Because some people might walk into a living room that's been painted a bright shade of violet, purple living room, and go, ooh, and someone else might walk into it and be like, this is amazing, I love it, So I want to think how my buyers think. And so I try to get in their mind frame, and I try to think like them. And it's the same way when you're trying to interact with someone on a micro scale. I don't want to say make judgments, but definitely try to think, okay, where are this person's priorities? What are they paying attention to? What really is interesting to them in this house? And then talk to them about it. Also engage their children that they bring along. Don't be afraid to talk to the kids. Say, well, what do you think about the kitchen? What do you think about the purple living room? And they see you just trying to be nice and engage with their kids. Most people appreciate that, as long as you don't go to the creepy end. But just talk to the kids. Acknowledge that they're there, and make them a part of the conversation. And if the kid's talking to you and the kid likes you, the mom's going to come over and end up having a conversation with you. So again, it can just be another way to kind of draw the decision maker in and get them talking to you. Any other questions there? Okay. Prepare. Okay. Neighborhood history. I want to show you a nice little tool for this one. Try and keep myself up. And we have, sort of jumping back to some of the stuff that I said, they've got an open house checklist here. We have a checklist that we give to people to remind them on how to prepare their house to list it. And there's nothing earth shattering in there. It's just sort of stuff that we've built off of experience, things that I have a little kind of like nitpicky things that bug me when people don't do them, like dirty windowsills. People forget those a lot and they get nasty. And I feel like it honestly traps odor too. You've got a bunch of dust accumulated in weird places. The dust itself, once you clean it out, it smells so much better in a house. So I just try to gently point things like that out to people. Here we go. Okay, so let me switch over here. Hopefully I'm still logged in. So you will get old guys. They love coming up to you and saying, well, what about that one down the street that sold? How much did that sell for? They love asking you that kind of stuff. So it's a really good idea to take a look at recent sales in the neighborhood, look at how quickly houses are selling in the neighborhood. So it looks like this will only take me a second. So this is something that we all have access to through the GSBOR. It's the Realtors Property RPR. If you haven't played with it, I strongly encourage you to do it. I don't use it a ton, but when I do use it, I love it. So this is a nice thing. There are 2 things I get out of this. So I like doing a zip code. Do 809, how about that? Okay. So you can pull up a zip code and then you go to reports. And let's do market activity report. That's the one that I like. Number 1, it'll show you all sales. Now, 809 is kind of a big, and it's got a lot of variation because you've got some older homes that are lower priced, and then you've got some big fancy homes. But I like the market activity report. You hit run report and addresses are, okay, all right. So see if I can remember. I think it was like, let's just do, let's do this. Let's do the market center. It's been a, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's commercial,
I
interesting.
got a good,
Yeah, give me an address, please.
was it this? Okay, here we go. 5670 South Glen Abbey Circle, Greene County. GLE.
Is it
and-
two words or one?
Yep, and it's just S, yeah, 5670 South GLEN ABBEY.
Springfield?
It's in Greene County. They'll do it.
Okay.
Huh.
Ah,
It sold in January, February, Patrick Murray, 4 mil.
I could live there. It's nice. The height.
Hole number 7, hole number 6.
So reports. So let's go to a market activity report. I sometimes use this for listing appointments as well, because it shows how quickly houses are moving. Why does it keep doing this? Okay, give me that address again.
Gonna make me work.
5670
Yeah.
South Glen Abbey Court.
Oops, somebody,
Circle of memory.
Circle.
this keyword's different. All right.
I think you gotta just hit an S in there.
Let's see what it does. I'm in the habit from the MLS because it likes it when you spill out.
Yeah, isn't that weird? One of them likes just the S and the other one likes the whole.
Mhm. It's annoying.
I think there's only one N in the
Which is
Glen.
dangerous when you go to look up previous sales on a property if you're not careful and try different approaches.
It'd be nice if the,
All right, fine. We'll just run the property report here. Sure.
no,
So, let's see here. Oh, that's
did
not
you
the-
get there from MLS?
I think, no, this is, so if you go, there used to be, they had like a dashboard that opened up whenever you logged in. You remember when we had all those icons? Some of you may have
On
seen them.
MLS?
And you could, yeah.
That's how
When
I
you-
do it.
Oh, is the RPR still there?
Yeah, and you just gotta edit it. So I've got CRS tax
Oh.
data and then I've got RPR
Okay, sweet.
also.
Okay.
So any address I pull up in MLS, I can just go straight to
Okay,
pulling it up.
well, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I didn't even realize that was there. I was doing it the hard way. So it gives you this market activity report. I was gonna show it to you and now it's being a turd. So I won't. But it will show, you can customize over here what it will look like. I'm sorry,
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. I'm pointing at the screen.
You talked on the screen.
She talked, she's a great instructor. She brings donuts. Just focus on that part. Okay, and then, yeah, you can customize. I need to update my picture. That's my old headshot, but there you are. So it'll print out this nice little customized report. It'll show you how quickly houses are moving. And you hit run report, it takes a minute, and then you have to just sit on the page and it'll pop up and say, your report is ready, and now you can download from PDF and then look at it. I really like it because it kind of gives you a quick little summary, like it shows you, it helps you just kind of do your homework in a nice consolidated way. And then obviously you'll still want to run comps, et cetera. But it's a nice way to kind of get a snapshot, and you can say to people, you know, well, on average, houses in this neighborhood are selling, you know, in 3 days on average. So it finds those statistics for you really quickly and really easily without you having to just look through a whole bunch of listings or, you know, run stuff on the pull data on the MLS, et cetera. So play with it. Obviously, I am not an expert at using it. But it is a good resource. Okay, and yeah, and what do people really want to, they want to know what houses are sold for how much, when, and where, and they want to know the dirt. That's one nice thing about door knocking. Sometimes you'll get a little, if you run into a neighborhood busybody, you might get some dirt on the neighborhood.
I got Facebook group all really tight yesterday. And like 3 or 4 people are like, go look at that. Go ask that house if they're ready to sell. Go ask that house. And I asked, and it was like an immediate and resounding no. And so they slammed the door. I go right next door. I'm like, hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, have you checked with her? She's going through a nasty divorce.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll send her a card later.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I am sad when people are getting a divorce, but not so sad when people are getting divorced. Oh, that's so terrible. I better call her. So.
That's the neighborhood jerk that everyone's trying to get to move
Right,
out.
yeah,
the
probably
neighborhood.
everybody wants them to move out. So yeah, but talking to neighbors can be a great way to kind of get the dirt on the neighborhood. So it is, if you have the ability and the time, again, you have to have the time in advance to do it. You can't, I mean, you can door knock a few people right before the open, but if you've literally got 12 hours to get this open house, get to the open house before it goes under contract, may or may not happen. Okay, talk about that. Okay, definitely, let's talk safety. I always am sharing my location with Mandy and my husband. And most of it comes down to common sense. I actually personally, at open houses, I always do a sweep before, and I make sure there's nothing valuable left out. And if there is something that appears to be valuable sitting out, I'll usually try to get a hold of the seller and say, it's only happened like once. And just say, you know, hey, I'm gonna put this in this drawer, or where do you want me to put it? Or do you not want me to move it? And I try to keep track of people as they move through the house, but when you've got 8 people in a house at the same time, you're not gonna be following everybody around. You're gonna be staying in a central location, trying to kind of keep tabs on where everybody is and what they're doing, but you can't watch their every single step. And I don't want to go into rooms with people I don't know. And, you know, obviously if there are a ton of other people in the house, sure. One time I was prepping for an open house. It was a vacant house. And I was leaving, I was locking it up from having done my little walkthrough beforehand. And a gentleman rolled up in a truck and he's like, hey, can I see that house? Are you a realtor? And I was like, okay. So I called Mandy and I was like, you anywhere close? And she said, no, she was way far away. So ultimately what I decided, because the house was vacant and there was nothing in it, I just said, you go ahead, go look at the house. I'll be here on the porch. Let me know if you have any questions. I stayed out front of the porch and I stayed on the phone with Mandy. So that way, if anything happened, she knew. Just be smart, use your common sense. If you're not comfortable with the situation, call somebody, call anybody. You can all call me. I may be down at my house. I work out of my office a lot, but reach out. You know, there's definitely been lots of posts in the KW group. Hey, I've got this going on. Who can help? There's help available. Call the office, see if there's anybody still at the office. If you're not comfortable, trust your gut. I learned that a long time ago. My gut's usually right, especially if I don't get a good feeling about somebody. So, okay. We talked about this. It's both. Prospecting, and there's so much overlap. Right now I'm actually doing a little program through Columbia College and the NAR on digital marketing for real estate. And so I'm writing about marketing for real estate for all these classes. And it is so hard to draw that line and be like, okay, here's how we sell a house. Here's how we market to get people. There's overlap. And it's hard to separate that out. Nothing fits perfectly into that little academic box. So signage, we've already touched on this, but it's super important. One of the best investments that we made were some A-frame signs that have our little logo and say open house and an arrow. And we have laminated Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and laminated 2 to 4, 5 to 7, and we just swap them out. Because they're quick and easy to put out. They're heavy, so they don't blow away. And you just go, boop. We each have 3 of them.
You have freestanding metal signs, is that what you said?
They're A-frame signs.
Where did you get them at, and do you know how expensive they are?
They were about $100 each.
Okay.
And I believe we got them from Signs Now. The place that used to be at Seminole and Glenstone and is now a come and go. And they have another location elsewhere.
Okay.
But whoever, I think that's Signs Now. I just can't remember. Their branding is generic.
Their signs suck, is what you're saying.
No, their signs are fine.
Branding.
They just moved.
Just a-
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
They
Their
don't have a very
business
good
branding.
sign, yeah.
Yeah,
Their business sign
okay.
wasn't very,
You're right. It
and
doesn't-
that's
their
what they
sign.
do.
They're personal signs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the
They
signs.
thought they'd put more thought into their own thing.
You're right. Thank you. So yeah, those were great because they're easy to put down. They don't blow away, all that jazz. But then we sometimes need 5 or 6. That is honestly a consideration when I'm just picking what I'm holding open, is how many signs am I going to need? And how hard is it to get to that house from a main road? Because if you have to make 6 or 8 turns and you're sending people on a little hobbit quest, you may not get the kind of turnout that you want. Whereas if you're in a neighborhood like Park Crest and it's 2 turns off of a main road and boom, there you are. That's just another consideration. But yeah, lots of signage, hit it from every angle the best you can. Sometimes the best you can do is just a few signs, and it's better than no signs. In this market, again, you don't have to try super hard to get people to your open house. They will get there. But putting out that good signage will bring some more people, and it shows people the effort that you're putting into to sell their house. So there's always more than one reason for doing something. Okay, you guys ready for a break? Are we, where are we doing on time? Oh, we've only got another 30 minutes.
Mhm.
Holy cow. Do you guys want to just power through? Okay, let's power through and finish her up. Okay, so we get it.
Are your signs branded with your name?
Mhm. Yep, they just say open house, big blank space where we put our time information, arrow, and then we've got like our little logo and our names, and then the KW logo.
And then how are you, I know you said the day and time are laminated. Are you just taping them on your sign?
Mhm. We tried doing like Velcro spots, but if every single piece doesn't get the same distance apart with the Velcro, so I just tape it. Mandy's more into the Velcro. It works for her. I've not mastered the art of that. Okay.
Is this like the type of sign you have, like an A-frame like that?
Yeah, it's got a steel frame on it. It's not plastic. So it's nice and heavy. We wanted it to be heavy. Strongly recommend that. That looks like that's plastic. So tips for signs. My undergraduate degree is in communication, so I'm really picky about how like stuff looks in terms of readability. I'm not necessarily a great graphic designer, but I'm very big on readability. And so think about someone driving by. How easy is it for them to read it? I try to make numbers and letters and important stuff as big as possible. Our logos and names are actually pretty small on our open house signs because that's not really what's important about them. It's nice that the name is there, but what's really important is how readable is it? Those KW signs are a great, affordable thing where you can write on them, but we also use the lamination on those too, so that way it's easier to change the dates and the times, because it's a pain even getting dry erase off of those plastic signs. And they can be really hard to read when somebody's handwritten on there and then it rained or it got smudged or someone moved it and like it can get messed up pretty easily.
So generally arrows and not an address.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I would never, well, I wouldn't say never, but that would not be my first go-to or what I would recommend, putting an address on them. Is just, yeah, open house that way, please. Okay. So yeah, these signs are simple, they get to the point.
There was one on there that I saw that kind of matched what it said, 10+ signs. One of the recommendations was.
Oh, yeah.
I had met with Tim, and that's one of Tim's tips. He said, literally put out as many signs as you can feasibly think about putting out, because I mean, you may have someone that saw the house on the MLS and wants to go, but you may just have someone that's just driving on a Sunday
Oh,
that
yeah.
just says, well, let's just go to the open house.
Absolutely. I would think about the energy payoff and the monetary payoff of having 10+ signs. They do get stolen, kicked in the street. That's another reason why I like the big steel signs, is people are less likely to abuse them. Although there are some neighborhoods where we don't put out the nice signs, we put out the cheaper signs. And it's about, like, are people gonna mess with this? Are they gonna move it? If they're likely to mess with it, move it, then I just put out the cheaper signs. So yeah, that's, again, kind of your own personal business decision. But yeah, very legit tactic to be obnoxious with your signs, absolutely. But that may come at a cost of someone saying, your signs are really obnoxious and I don't appreciate you putting them all over my neighborhood. Also another perspective.
I know, but you got here.
But you came here,
You
yeah,
came. It
exactly.
worked.
So, probably needs more, this one needs more information, open house. Unless you're putting it out at the moment that you're opening the house and the house is open. This is better, balloons. They're probably not gonna go to that web address, but it's there.
Put it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
I've heard different opinions on that information thing. Like, if you can get people to the house, I mean, in today's world, most people can look it up. Like, they type in an address, it's gonna come up top of the results.
Yeah.
And they're getting your info. Like, I don't know, I've heard.
It's a decision that everybody has to make for their own business, in my opinion. And some people have different priorities and different philosophies, and that's okay. Yeah. Maybe probably newspapers, not so much a thing anymore, too much, but they do have those little real estate books, and I live in Ozark and we've got people do still pick up the paper, I go to the little grocery store, Apple Market in Ozark, and I've heard people asking for the paper. I've seen people picking up those little real estate books. I'm not saying they're not legit, not as frequently used. Mail outs, just like postcards, flyers, mailing stuff to neighbors. Again, this is stuff that requires a lot of advanced knowledge and preparation, which in this market you may or may not have the ability to do, but it's one of those things to keep in mind. It may be useful at some point. Internet marketing. So, Facebook posts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, in terms of, those are the ones that are most being used by people that are 30 to 60. And so that's where you're going to want to make sure that you promote it properly, consider a paid boost. With Facebook, you might be able to get into neighborhood groups. If you're like, hey, I really like this neighborhood. So I want to, let me get into the Facebook group. Sometimes they'll just let you in. Be honest about why you're trying to get in. I'm a realtor. I'm going to be selling a house in this neighborhood. I'd like to be into your Facebook groups. If you're honest about it and they let you in, you've got nothing to worry about. You can sleep well at night. So yeah, see if you can get into those groups. I joined a Rogersville group recently. It says, how are you connected to Rogersville? I graduated in 1996. I don't live in Rogersville anymore, but I graduated from LRHS in 1996. I'm in the group. Put stuff into all the Facebook groups. Facebook makes it really easy right now when you're sharing. Do you want to share this to groups? check a bunch of boxes, you can do it. Do you want to take it off the groups? Yep. Da, da, da. Internet marketing is a whole class, is whole classes in and of itself. It's a whole series of classes. But the basics are Facebook posts, have a realtor page, share it on your personal page, get your seller to share it, or ask your listing agent to ask their seller to share it, etc. Try it. You want to be careful, tread carefully about asking if you can Facebook friend the seller. But if you have a good relationship with the listing agent and they're not super territorial, you might be able to say, hey, do you care if I friend Sally Jones so that way she can share my post? And somebody said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. So the more connections you have in common with people, I mean, I've gotten leads that way where they Facebook message me, hey, saw you're friends with so-and-so, looking for a real estate agent, and now they're under contract. So, that's happened in recent history more than once. So just being connected with a lot of people is great. Truth be told, I didn't really know the person that was their friend, but how is Hannah doing? But they were somebody who was a Facebook friend. So we had 2 Facebook friends in common. So it's all right. And we're like-minded people. We're getting along well. It's great. Okay, I think we've harped on this enough. But yeah, marketing is a whole nother class in and of itself. All right, let's look at their open house checklists. So since we are running up on our time, is there anything you guys specifically want me to hit, even if it means we're skipping around, that we haven't already discussed?
It's a little bit different than probably open house topic, but in this market, what are some strategic or maybe some pro tips as far as being able to generate the buyer for your listings? Because it seems to be happening a lot.
Put it on the MLS.
Huh?
Put it on the MLS.
I mean, you create the buyer. So there's a lot of, I don't know how common it is, but it's like a lot of houses are going on the market already pending or already closed.
Sure.
So
like finding the buyer,
right.
even before
So
listing.
for instance, even, I don't know that marketing to Keller Williams would be good because, well, I guess it would, because they would already have the buyer, but it wouldn't be you. So any tips?
Network with other agents. That's the #1 way to get a property sold off market. Right now, I don't know why you would want to sell off market unless you just really wanted something quick and easy and could make that happen. Our team has a database, so we can go into our database and be like, okay, we're about to list a 3-2 in Kickapoo Schools, who in our database is looking for that, and then we reach out to those people, either prior to or inviting them to an open house or whatever makes sense. Have your seller talk to their friends and family and neighbors especially. Use that, you can door knock and say, hey, I'm gonna be listing the Jones house down the street. Do you know anybody who wants to live in the neighborhood? It's so hard to get, people beat that up because, right, they know, especially if they have, I've talked to people in Waterford. Actually, the person who lives next door to one of my rentals, we were splitting the cost of cutting down a tree. And she said, oh, by the way, have you thinking about maybe selling your rental? Because my kid really wants to move into the neighborhood. We can't get him a house. But
I'll help your kid.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Is there any rules regarding how, like, say you have a listing and it's going live on Friday? I mean, are you able to knock on doors and tell people about the listing coming up? Like, is there any restrictions on that? Can only be done within, I know there's like the 24-hour, you can only market it before it's on the MLS 24 hours in advance or something like that?
I think you're fine if you go and you say, I want to invite you to the open house we're having on Friday. That's not publicly marketing it. You're just talking to the neighbors. I think there's an argument to be made that that could be considered marketing it before it's on the MLS. But I really don't think anybody's gonna turn you in for talking to a couple neighbors, because it would be just, you know, you can just say, I was just talking to the neighbors, letting them know we're gonna have an open house and inviting them to the open house.
You prepare for heavy traffic.
Yeah, there you go. I was warning them that there might be a lot of traffic on Saturday.
And they asked why, and I told them that got a new listing coming up.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I think that's one people would probably not call you out on too badly. I don't think that would be a major issue. Very doable.
Feel free to check with Jim, we're done.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Make sure I am caught up. We're up to 39.
And no one has gotten through all the material yet.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
So
Because I
don't
sure
feel-
haven't.
don't feel
I
stressed
would,
about
I would definitely spend a little time talking about this trust mindset, reading, building rapport. I like the contribution principle, the I'm giving you something before you ask somebody for something. When I'm running an open house, like I told you guys, I don't do a sign-in sheet. I just try to talk and build connections, and give them information. And even if they're like, that's a way to connect. Oh, who owns that land behind the house? Is it gonna be built up? I love that question, because that invites them to sit and talk to you and be like, oh, just give me a few minutes. Let me see what I can come up with on my phone. And so then you're just building rapport, chatting, filling in the holes while you're trying to find the counting information. In theory, it might be a good idea to know that kind of thing before you even start the open house. But you can still kind of stall, take a little time to look it up and work on building that much more rapport before you produce the information. But give them information and then say, hey, sounds like you're interested in a house like this. If anything else comes on the market, can I reach out to you? Oh yeah, sure, that would be great. And you get their number.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when would be the best time to start to engage in conversation with buyers that walk into the house? Because they want to come in and see the house right away. They don't want to talk.
Mhm.
But after they look at the house, they want to leave.
Yes. So, and that is one of the reasons why I don't love doing open houses on Sundays anymore, when everybody else is doing open houses, because people come in and they're like, okay, we got to see these 3 houses between 2 and 4 today. And one's here, one's here, one's here, you know? So they're going to come in like machines, look at the house and go. And they're not going to want to stop and talk because I got 2 more houses I got to get to. So ways to combat that, do a 1 to 3 or, instead of a 2 to 4. That's one way, but a lot of people do 1 to 3s as well. So evening open houses on the day you go live can be awesome for that, because then you're getting people in that aren't rushing to go to 14 other open houses. Saturday afternoons, there are going to be other open houses, but there aren't going to be as many. So again, you're getting people who aren't rushing to get to other houses. I still do Sunday 2 to 4 sometimes. I'm not saying I would never do them, but that's just one factor to consider is, yeah. And in terms of actually engaging people, again, it's very much a case-by-case basis. Some people kind of want to see the house, and then when they circle back around, then that's when I try to connect with them. It's all just sort of about reading the feelings, you know, sort of reading the body language, how do they seem, how receptive do they seem? If I overhear them talking about something in the house, I'll be like, oh yeah, I know, isn't that beautiful? I just love how all that sunlight that comes in through those windows, you know, just try to find a little way to kind of insert yourself into their conversation. And then hopefully from there, you can build something a little bit more meaningful.
Around Valentine's Day, I did a little guess how many hearts are in the jar.
Oh.
And I just had their name and contact number. I gave away a $25 gift card. I didn't
love
like
that.
advertise it and come, you know, I didn't do any of
Yeah.
that, but it was a good way to have conversation, and I got their information
Mm-hmm.
and people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, I did do that once. I was holding up a new construction house that had just been beautifully staged. And it was very HGTV, modern farmhousey kind of thing. So I bought a copy of Chip and Joanna's book, And I set it out and I did a little drawing, and you can get drawing slips on Amazon, like $5 for like a bazillion of them. And it just says name, address, phone, email, or phone number, email, and say, okay, we're gonna have a drawing for someone to get this book. And then you call every single person, and if they answer the phone, you won the book. And then you have a conversation. If you have to buy another copy of it and get a client, why not?
That's a great idea. You want the book?
Yeah.
You want the book? You get a book.
Yeah.
You get a book.
Books for leads.
I like it.
So,
What's the name of the book?
but I wouldn't go Chip and Joanna now
Is it a cheap book?
because no, it's like $20.
Like,
But
give away like $10, $20 books? Maybe I'll do
yeah,
that.
They have to answer.
they have to answer the phone.
Call you back or.
And yeah, if they don't
Sell your
communicate
house.
with me, then they don't get the book. I only gave away a couple books, ultimately. But yeah, go, like, that house was very Chip and Joanna style. And I was like, okay, and it was a new construction, so I had, some lead time. I was not in a rush. And I just set the book out on like a little standy thing and said, enter the drawing to win the book. I didn't get any clients from it, but I talked to a few people. And it might have panned out in another scenario. But yeah, everybody
I thought
wins.
we've been having like talks where you're not allowed to do giveaways. Is that,
I think it has to do with like the advertising. So it's like, if you sell your house with me, I'll get this.
you can't
Yeah.
advertise that you're
Yeah, we
giving
can't
it,
advertise it.
but at the open
Yeah,
house.
at the open
you're
house, if it's just there, and it's, especially if it's a very low value item like a book.
Right.
Yeah, should be no issues with that.
That's a great idea.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of complicated too, because most of the people that go to the open houses, they already have agents. So you don't want to give away books that people already have agents, so
It's all
won't even
makes
get.
sense.
I haven't, that's the only time I've done that.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like the house. It was not only was it seasonal and it was specific to that situation, but I also kind of, tried to read the room about it. And if it's a house where you think you're gonna just have a bunch of people plowing through there, like, would I do it right now? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because right now, you're lucky if you get one or two people coming through without agents.
One of the
That's what I
questions
had
on
last
the
week.
entry was, are you working with an agent? Yes or no?
Yeah.
That was one of the
Oh, there you
questions.
go.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's
Yeah.
my second question.
Yeah, even
How are
better.
you today? Are you working with an agent?
Yeah.
So I know which one to focus, but I had an open house last week. It was very busy. Almost 30 people came in. Only two families didn't have an agent.
Yeah. And I honestly, I don't ask that question until it sounds like we might actually be going somewhere.
Well, and it sounds like they may be using that as a
Yeah, they're
way
just
to
gonna lie
not,
to you.
just
about
to
Yeah.
keep you off of them, kind of
Yeah.
sort of thing. So a question would be like, oh yeah, who are you working with? Do they happen to be in my office?
Mhm.
And that way you can kind of see like, oh crap, I have to come up with somebody.
Yeah.
I like your approach, though. Just don't even ask them. It doesn't even matter if they're working with an agent, if you can't connect with them.
Correct.
Try and connect with them first. And I think they're a lot less likely to lie to you about an agent. It's like when you show up at a car lot, what are you doing? I'm just looking. I mean, no one's ever at a car lot to buy a car. They're all just looking. But so if you just set yourself up for someone to tell you that they're just looking, then you just, okay, well, they have an agent, and then now you never even had a chance to connect with them.
I don't ask about agency until I'm getting their phone number. And then when I'm getting their phone number, I'll be like, now, just to make sure we're doing this properly, you haven't signed any paperwork with another agent, have you? Oh, no. And has anybody else shown, at that point, I probably have already, so how are you looking at houses? Has anybody else shown you houses? One of my favorite hooks to get people, even as they're strolling out the door, is, have you seen any houses online that you would like to see in person? And
Ooh, I
then
like
when
that.
I leave an open house, I leave with the mindset that, plan the open house with the mindset that I may end up showing houses to somebody walking out of the door. Like, hey, yeah, let's see if we can get in there.
But how
And
do
I-
you- Sorry.
No, please.
What do you do in a situation like sometimes there are 4 or 5 families at the same time? So if you engage a conversation with one family, how do you know the other families? So,
You may or may not get to talk to them.
okay, that's.
Yeah, you just kind of got to cut your losses.
Yeah.
But if one person is engaging with you, that's the win. That is the win. Roll with what you can get, where you can get engaged.
That was changing for me whenever I stopped trying to collect everyone, because if I can get one good person off of an open house, I don't care,
Uh-huh.
and maybe they grabbed my card or maybe they didn't or whatever, but if I could get one good buyer off of it, that's fine.
No, I was talking to Blake Cook. He was actually in real estate school with me and Mandy too. And he said, I hate, you guys do so many opens. I hate doing opens. And he was like, I said, well, why do you hate doing opens? He's like, I hate asking for everybody's contact information. I'm like, well, then stop asking for it. Just go interact and talk to people. And then he came back to me a couple of weeks later. He was like, dude, that was so much fun. Yeah.
That was my experience too,
Yeah.
as well. I
So-
went from trying to extort everyone's information to just trying to connect with one person.
Exactly.
My mentality is more of like creating the party, creating the environment, setting the pace, setting the tone, and less like the second question of like, are you working with an agent? It's like right to the throat. If you ask me,
Mhm.
like maybe not ask that question until you get their contact, like she said, I guess.
Yes, I don't ask until I'm
And then
taking a
30
phone number.
people, you may wanna, I don't know, that seems like a lot of people to miss. That seems like probably a 2-agent open house.
Oh,
if
for
that's an
sure.
option.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime we're holding like a little cute little 3-2 and Nixa open or something like that, we try to have 2 people on hand. Because it's gonna be a zoo.
That's where I met either you or Amanda.
Probably Amanda, because I don't think we've met before.
It was like right by Walmart Supercenter on Campbell. It was like a 3-2 and there were 2 people in there. You guys give out the square cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hold on to everybody's card and I'm like, there's that one orphan card sticking out of this. And when I saw your logo, I was like, that damn square card.
That dance. That's right. It's memorable. Everyone comments on it. Everyone.
Hey, tell me more about doing the open houses at weird times, like what,
3 a.m.
you like to do it because they're not in a hurry to go to other houses,
They're coming for that one house.
but are you still getting enough people come through, like?
Mhm.
on
I mean, I don't do it at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Monday.
Right.
I usually, the evening opens. are the
After
weird ones.
work, through the
Yeah.
week.
Evenings or Saturday afternoons would be my first, like, I really like if I've got a cute 3-2 in a nice neighborhood, Cherokee Estates, Park Crest, then that's ripe for an evening open house.
Especially during the summer when it stays later.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It's harder at night when it gets dark faster. But even if it's gonna be a hot listing in a hot neighborhood, like houses in Park Crest go like that, and sometimes they don't even hit the market. In fact, I think there's an agent here about to sell one. Anyway, he's like, we may not get to market. And it's true, because there are a lot of, my niece wants to live in this neighborhood kind of connections that happen in neighborhoods like that. So if it's got house that's got good visibility, you're gonna get people driving home on the way from work. We do it 5:30 to 7:30, or we don't get a ton after 7:00. So we actually shorten it even to 5:30 to 7 for a lot of our evening opens in that, and you get a ton of traffic in that 90 minutes. And then after 7, it pretty well dies off. So,
Especially if the house looks charming at that time of
Yeah.
day.
yeah.
With cafe lights or, some pretty backyard.
But it getting dark early definitely is a detriment. We've had a couple that were not as busy as I thought. And I was like, it's probably because it's dark. People can see our signs and it's dark. So yeah, it is more of a summer activity to do the evening open houses. Okay, so definitely go through these open house scripts. There's some good material in here. Again, just about building rapport. Good little tactics. Any other questions? Because we should wrap up. It's 1:00. I don't want to keep people unless you want to talk.
What is your plan to follow up with people you've met at open houses that you've connected with? Like some of them that I've met are really engaging and it's just like off to the races to find a house. And then I feel like some of them I just kind of fall, I got their information, we connected, but then I've just kind of fallen flat after that.
That's where putting them into your database, setting follow-up reminders is key. Follow-up is one of my biggest struggles. True story. Especially if it's someone that I haven't talked to in a while and I can't fully remember the last time I talked to them or what we talked about. I have a hard time making that call. Not gonna lie, but if a little thing keeps popping up on my phone that says, in fact, I've got one that I was supposed to call yesterday, but I had a crazy day yesterday, so I'm gonna call him today. And you just have to make yourself put on your big girl pants and do what you gotta do. But set reminders. I try to get on top of things very quickly. I'm very much an out of sight, out of mind kind of person. I have dry erase Post-it notes on my desk. And I've got, this is the stuff I need to accomplish this week. This is the stuff I need to accomplish today. This, you know, I have several different layers of, and I somehow get a kick out of crossing stuff off of those lists. I think because as a parent, you don't get to cross many things off your list. You can't get anything done. So it always feels really good to be like, okay, I'm gonna erase that now. So it's just figuring out what systems work best for you, what kind of reminder and follow-up systems. Make sure that when you put a reminder in your phone to call somebody, make it detailed and say, call them and talk to them about, you know, see if they've finally connected with that lender that they were wanting to talk to, blah, 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 you know, whatever it is. So, but do it. And if someone doesn't answer the first time, don't cross it off your list, put it back on your list. Call them again the next day, try a different time. Say, I called them at 2 p.m. last time, I'm gonna try calling them at 5 p.m. this time. Just keep trying. Yeah. Any other questions in Zoom land? I don't see anything.
Good stuff.
Do you guys have any other questions? No?
Appreciate it.
Okay, well, no, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys got what you wanted out of it. Feel free to call me anytime.
What's your number again?
417-597-2136.
Can you tell everybody how to say your name?
Nadri. It's pretty phonetic. Like people, I think, look at it and like freeze up.
417-597-2136.
2136.
How do you say your last name?
Have an annoying square.
Oh,
Hard.
yes, love it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bonucci, Bonucci,
Banuki,
Bonucci.
like cookie.
Thank you.
Is that Italian?
It is.
Thank you, ma'am.
Of course.
Appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys coming and being interactive and engaging. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you
thank you,
again
thank you,
for
yeah.
all of the info.
I'm happy to help anytime I can. So
How crazy is your schedule right now?
we've got a lot under contract right now, and I'm kind of in that. I need to get more under contract because we've got a bunch of closings in the next couple of weeks, and then we won't. I'm like, where's the business next? So it's medium, let's put it that way.
You're not trying to ride the roller coaster.
I don't love the roller coaster. I like consistent, but it can be hard to achieve. And it's still, even 4 years in, it still seems to come in spurts. So that's okay. I'm crossing things off my list every day.
The report that you were talking about pulling up in RPR. I was able to pull it up and get it to download or whatever. How do you actually use that report?
So we give all of our, when we're doing a listing presentation, we print out marketing information. And we have a sort of a little binder that we give all of our clients. And so we put that in there and then we show it to them. We discuss it with them. If I was taking it for an open house, I would just print it out and bring it with me, or I would have an electronic copy saved in a place where I could pull it up quickly and easily. But at an open house, I don't like bringing a lot of stuff in. I don't like bringing my computer in. I bring in my phone and my keys and try to have pockets. And definitely be comfortable. You want to look professional, but be comfortable. Because if you're uncomfortable, for me, my shoes are bugging me. I don't want to talk to people, you know? So, and if somebody doesn't want to talk to me when I'm wearing my Birkenstocks,
Yeah.
too bad, they're lost. So, yeah.
I mean, because at the end of the day, you want to get clients that are a good fit for and going to be a smooth process for you to work with.
Exactly. And if someone thinks my Birkenstocks are offensive, and thinks I'm unprofessional for wearing sandals,
Hey, put your toes away.
exactly, then I don't want to work with you.
Exactly.
Because in the summer, you're gonna see a lot of my toes. Okay, Ashley, if you're listening, oh, thanks, Andres. Ashley, if you're listening, come make the Zoom stop.
Make it stop.
Isn't there a stop button right there on the?
Stop, so there's stop share.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Let's stop it. I think it'll stop the screen sharing. I don't think it stops the X out. And meeting for